What's up, Lego builders? Welcome back to Coconut Brick Studios. This is a big update, not just because I'm going to be setting an end date for Mimban, but I also have a massive build I would love to squeeze into the mock. The time has also come to see if I kept my promise regarding the base or not. And there's a large Lego haul containing a vehicle I've been talking about building for like 4 months now. Lastly, I'm hoping to get an entire side of the trench done. You gotta love a first of the month update. The part bins are full, the to-do list is long, so don't forget to execute order 66 on that like button, and let's get building. At the end of the last Mimban update, I promised all the base walls would be done by this video, and behold, the finished walls. The building went a lot quicker than I thought it would. I literally finished everything in one stream on a Saturday, and it feels amazing to be done with them. However, there's still a lot of work to do before the base is finished. While working, I had a great idea regarding the back wall. Last update, I was complaining how I had to build a second wall here to cover up the back of the turbo lifts, and while I was contemplating that, I realized, why though? Why can't I just leave them exposed and make this the back wall? There's no danger of an attack, and the turbo lift shaft is completely enclosed, so there's no point in having a second wall. This just saved me so much time and pieces. Now all I need to do is clean up the gaps in the side walls, add the rest of the turbo lift, and figure out what to put at the base of the walls here. It's the back of the base, which you're hardly gonna see, so I don't exactly need to recreate the statue of David over here. I'll probably just end up throwing in some small silos, generators, and other little builds to fill up space. I'm feeling pretty good about things, so now I can turn my attention to this side wall. I need to run a row of reddish brown plate under these panels to bring them level with the rest of the base wall. And while I do that, I might as well build the Juggernaut's path. But before I roll up my sleeves and get muddy, I need to call in some reinforcements. It's the first of the month, and that means haul time. This is a big one because this will most likely be the last giant haul I have before Mimban's finished. I got some more dark orange and green plants for the terrain, and I've been gearing up for some new projects which have me very excited. I'm about to enter a new era of building over on my second channel, Coconut's Kingdom. I've been doing a lot of World War II builds of late, and I'm going to be jumping forward into a futuristic cyberpunk world next, full of tanks, battle mechs, and other armored vehicles. I got these eyes for a giant creature build I'll talk about at the end of this video. I also got some random minifig torsos to create custom soldiers, and saw this store had some Gungan torsos, so of course I snagged them all. You know I had to. This is the most important package of the haul, something I've been wanting to buy for too long now. The LEGO Star Wars Pirate Tank. Unfortunately, it doesn't come with the figs because apparently the Hondo fig is super expensive, but I guess that's a good thing because that made just the tank pretty cheap. If I remember right, it's mostly complete, only missing a few minor pieces, and the important sticker pieces are there as well as the engines. I wish they would have gone fully built or fully taken apart, since it's going to be tough removing these reddish brown pieces, especially since some are already broken. With the parts unpacked, I can return to the base and get the terrain put under the side walls, making sure to add the cheese slopes that sit under the dark bluish gray strips of tile. This side will be a lot easier than the other one since I'm keeping everything very flat, so it's mostly tile and slope going in. The Juggernaut and other tanks use this corridor to enter and exit the base, so I want the ground to be packed down flat and smooth. Plus, that means more easy building for me, and I won't have to go over the top with wedge plates to add texture. I imagine a big tank like the Juggernaut would create a couple furrows in the ground with its massive wheels, which would cause dirt to pile up in between them in the middle of the road. So I'm running a strip of plate across the whole path to elevate the middle section a little. To smooth out the step up in height, I'm lining the sides with different colors and styles of slope. I don't want it to look too bumpy or uneven, but I don't want it to look completely man-made and smooth either, so I alternated different kinds of slopes next to each other for a little variation on the sides. The crosswalk will need to be cleaned off repeatedly, so I added a row of slopes sloping away from the walkway, so it looks like a little trench was formed after the walkway gets sprayed off so many times and water runs off the side, eroding the ground. Fresh parts means fresh trench walls. I'm just going to repeat what I did in previous episodes, building the side panels and floor for each little section, making sure to add the obligatory mud stains and lights if that section calls for it. I alternated the lights to be on every other panel, that way the troops aren't getting headaches from a blindingly bright trench. It's a war zone after all, not a fashion runway. Building the trench like this was so nice because now I could just build it one section at a time and modify or change things along the way without having to rip up the previously built sections. I've now built to where the next dugout will be, and this one isn't going to be another E-web cannon nest. I had a lot of people asking for a mortar emplacement somewhere, and I figured I can't do a trench without mortars, so that's what's going in here. Plus, it'll be nice to build something slightly different. I say different, but it's basically the exact same build, except there's a mortar and mortar rounds inside. But you get the idea. At least it'll look different and the people will be satisfied. I now have a pretty well guarded trench, but there are still some big gaps between the sentry posts. To fill them in, I'm going to add the barbed wire mazes I built forever ago and some anti-personnel mines as icing on the cake. This isn't supposed to act as a solid wall, but more like a deterrent to force enemy troops to the sides where they will be easy pickings for the Imperial troops. Just as I guessed earlier, I very much underestimated how many slopes and tile it was going to take to finish the ground of this MOC. I was planning on getting the entire Juggernaut path done this week, but only had the pieces to do about this much, while still saving some for other parts of the build. At least I was able to lay out the entire pathway and I can easily calculate what's needed to finish now. Because vehicles will pass so close to the base wall, I coated the bottom of one panel in reddish brown to represent mud and other debris getting sprayed onto it by passing vehicles on particularly rainy days. And the effect turned out quite nice in my opinion. I'm thinking about having a column of Imperial hover tanks following the Juggernaut out of the base, but let me know in the comments which type of tank you would like to see me use more. Option A or option B. I was able to cruise through the last stretch of the trench and now this entire side is done. Unfortunately, I'm now staring at this angled spot wondering how on earth I'm going to replicate that shape with the trench walls. I'm thinking about putting wedge plates on the edges of a couple panels to create an angled corner, which would work if it's a 90-degree turn, but it's not, so now I'm not really sure what I'm going to do. At one point, I considered just ripping this part out and just running the trench straight the whole way across the MOC, but if you have any suggestions, hit me up in the comments. The mud detailing is continuing to look great inside the trench, and I'm really happy with the mortar emplacement. It's simple and effective at throwing explosive rounds at the enemy before they even know it's happening. I won't be putting a cover on this dugout though, for obvious reasons. I love how the barbed wire patch looks. I've been looking forward to seeing the finished trench in its gritty glory for so long, and this is a great sneak peek. I'm able to capture that World War I vibe while still staying in the Star Wars galaxy and aesthetic, and the only thing that's missing is a tank cruising out of no man's land. Now remember, this is not meant to keep people out of the trench, but slow them down and funnel incoming troops into the kill windows of the dugouts. So I don't want to hear anything about how there are too many gaps or something in the barbed wire, because you're wrong. Plus the anti-personnel mines will take care of anyone who happens to maybe make it through. At last, it's time to turn my attention to the long-anticipated Rebel tank. At first, I was going to completely dismantle and rebuild this, but some of the pieces are already damaged or broken, and given how many reddish-brown parts I've already destroyed building Mimban, I don't want to take my chances with these. The tank is actually more complete than I thought. It's a lot of small exterior panels or fins, and when I pulled up the instructions online, was easily able to piece everything together, and as far as I can tell, there aren't any missing parts. My plan is to rebuild this, then decide how much I want to modify it and what armaments to add. I didn't have a specific idea for what kind of tank the rebels would be using, which is why this model came in handy. I was surprised at how cool the finished build is. It's got wheels on the bottom for smooth gliding, and there's a lever at the back that deploys a hidden crew member. Not super helpful in a fight because you want to stay in the tank, but still kind of cool. What impressed me the most was the design. For an obscure Star Wars vehicle turned into a playset, LEGO cooked with this one. It's well built and doesn't look blocky or have lots of gaps. Better yet, it screams generic tank, so I won't need to do much modifying. I'm keeping the front armaments fairly light since the back is loaded to the gills with rockets. I see this as a Hellfire droid-esque tank, moving forward behind infantry support, knocking out bigger targets like tanks and bunkers. This setup would give even Juggernaut crews Battle of Geonosis flashbacks. With the tank being done, I can block out where it's going to go on the MOC. I want it to be abandoned, partially submerged in the ground. This tank was charging forward in an old battle when it took a hit to the engine, causing it to crash down into the dirt, plowing up a furrow in the ground and swamping it, forcing the crew to bail and retreat. Last week, I built a giant Famba designed by Big Judge on Rebrickable, and that's what the printed eyes from earlier are for. I felt like they would give the creature more life, and someone suggested using it in Mimban, and I just couldn't help but throw out a hypothetical. It could be a giant war beast used to break enemy lines with Mimbanese firing down from the top. It looks so cool on the battlefield, but alas, it doesn't fit with my vision for the build. Plus this, the Rebel tank, and Juggernaut all squished over here just wouldn't look right. But don't worry, this Famba will show up again in future MOCs. I'm really happy with how the tank has crashed into the ground. I was worried the crater would look too rectangular, but it has a very natural shape, and the tank is sunk just deep enough into the ground to make it look damaged without going too far. There's a little furrow or pit right here where somebody scraped up dirt as it skidded to a halt. I would like to add some battle damage to the front, maybe pull off some pieces, but that'll have to come at a later date. I even partially buried the front fins that would have plowed into the ground when the tank crashed. Let me know what you think of the Rebel tank in the comments, as well as the modifications I made to it. And that's it. The last big thing that needed to be laid out in the wastelands is in. Now I can finish the rest of the terrain. No more vehicles, but I'll probably add a crater or two, and now I need to get cracking on this mountain/forest area. I've also been hearing calls for a Gungan Easter egg, which I feel is a must at this point, but that's a challenge for next time. Having the Rebel tank done is a big weight off my shoulders. It's going to play a big part in the final story. Having the Rebel tank done is a big weight off my shoulders. It's going to play a big part in the final story, and I wanted it to look really good and be placed in just the right spot. I'm getting to the point where more and more things are being checked off the to-do list, and I think it's about time to pick an end date. Right now, my goal is to be done with Mimban and have the finale out next month. So that means there are only about 3 or 4 more of these updates, and I need to make each one count, starting next time when I get the entire base route figured out. But that's another week of building Mimban in the books. Don't forget to let me know what you think of the mock down below in the comments, and until next time, happy building.